That alone, verse number 21. Agreement to differ is the first step to agreement. The verse, endearment is of one kind. This is dear to me, your preference is for something else. Thus, many objects of endearment are differentiated and confusion comes. What is dear to you is dear to another also. This should be known. Commentary. Experience falls into two categories, the internal and the external. In the external world, we interact with things, people, and various kinds of events. Inside us, we entertain ideas, recall memories, and experience certain sensations. Yet, all of these experiences can be grouped together in one category as the object matter of experience. The subject in each case is what you call I. I see this orange outside. I like it. I have an idea and I like it very much. Here the idea is inside me and the orange is outside me, but both are objects of my interest. There can be a thing outside which I like and you do not like. I may also have an idea that I like but you do not like. You like another idea. You have a subjective feeling or notion as well as items outside, which are all the objects of your interest. So now we have three things: I, my idea, and what is not I, or what is outside me. There is one more factor also. There is a pure light in us, a pure self, which has been described in this work in so many ways. In the first verse, it was described as the one cosmic yoke, which is transforming into everything, the Karu. After that, it was compared to a supernal sun of pure awareness, shining in the firmament of consciousness. Again, it was compared to an oceanic treasury. We treated it as the one knowledge behind all knowledge, which unifies the knower, the known, and knowledge within itself. Then it was compared to a light which was never lit and which will never be extinguished. Apart from shedding light, it illuminates things, and it is always looking on as the eternal witness. Next, we tried to see it as the one changeless truth behind all changes. That was further understood as the truth that is revealed to a contemplative person who knows the secret of the sacred syllable Om. After that, it was pictured as the supreme light which fills our inside so much that all the horizontal interests in life become verticalized by that experience. Again, the same light was described as the neutral consciousness of the witnessing self sitting under the tree of life and not being caught by the tendrils of the phenomenal creeper, which is overladen with flowers of individuation. Thereafter, we saw it as the oneness, the uniting factor, which allows one person to understand another, and is the homogeneous reality in our recognition of different things. Again, we saw within us the continuity from one I identity to another. It is the golden thread which passes through all separate notions of I. In this sense, it is the unifying factor in the I consciousness of different people. Then we saw it as the one reality which comes to its fullness and perfection when the consciousness associated with an individuated self in the form of an embodied being is liberated by the fall and decay of the body. It never perishes, it comes to perfection. We saw it as having a likeness to that Supreme Lord who remains unaffected by the three modalities of nature. We were asked to turn to it and affiliate ourselves in a bipolar attitude of love and devotion, whereby we can offer to that Lord all that sprouts in our mind. In this way, we remain one with the unchanging reality. What comes in between us and this wholesome experience? The three-foldedness of the things outside, past, present, and future, here, there, and far beyond on earth, the atmosphere and the sky. All are introduced to trifurcate our experience. Triadic experience occurs inside as well as outside, with the knower, known, and knowledge, enjoyer, enjoyed, and enjoyment, and actor, action, and what is acted upon. A person with a unitive understanding can see the sameness outside and inside. It is again and again that sameness we are referring to in this course of study. When our life is fragmented and bits of it are lying scattered around meaninglessly, the light of this one can come like a flood to overwhelm our divisions and charge every event with great significance. Every grain of sand becomes a pearl of priceless worth. It has been described as absolute joy, experiencing which you transcend the passing of time. Everything becomes a timeless, eternal reality. We have also seen that in the same world, even people endowed with great wisdom will put their emphasis on different aspects of truth. One will say the cause is real, another that the effect is real, while yet another will say it is neither the cause nor the effect, but what you derive from it, that is real. Such varying approaches are what lead to fighting among people. After showing us this danger, Narayana Guru warned us to be careful that this world can indeed be threatening. It can be dark, frightful, and depressing. If your mind is already tainted with the dark colors of fear, since it is through that very mind you look at the world, this world will also look very frightening. But if your mind is free of such taint, then you see it as a fresh garland of newly picked flowers, very beautifully strung together. Thus, in its structure, function, and value, this becomes a world of great endearment, full of truth that can be adored as vast wisdom. These are some of the analogies that Narayana Guru has presented to us in the first 20 verses of Atmopadesh Satakam. Now the Guru tells us to look again at that light within. It is always shining forth with the same kind of brilliance, but it passes through a kind of mechanism of different gears. The gears can make the light seem brighter or darker. It can even be turned off for a time. When that happens, you are in a state of tamas. Light is still within you, but it is as if you are in the dark. You are helpless. Then it can be turned on a little. It is your own little light, and it can be turned up to its fullness also. When you turn your light on, it illuminates your world of experience, whether inside or outside, as if through a shielding glass. The glass is your mind. It's not a very faithful device for giving you a transparent vision. It is clouded in various ways. It is already colored with your interests, which have come to you because of previous conditionings. You yourself have experienced pain or pleasure previously in conjunction with something you are now encountering. so you are already colored in favor or against it. Several of these prejudices or preconditionings are already present in you, and the conditionings need not necessarily be previous ones. Someone can put into your idea a prospective expectation, which also colors the mind. All these bring about differentiation. Reality has three unifying aspects. One is called Sat, existence. I exist, you exist. This couch exists, the house exists, the sky exists, the world exists. All these can be brought under one common heading of existence. All that exists is a genuine existence, which implies the existence of all. It is called Sat. I am aware of my existence, of your existence, of the existence of the world. Thus, I have an all-embracing awareness that includes everything. What is not in it, I will never know. This awareness, which includes in it good and bad, far and near, one and many, big and small, irrespective of all variations, is just one knowledge, Chit. So we have one all-inclusive existence and one all-inclusive knowledge. I value my beingness and you value your beingness. Everything tends to become valuable in one way or another. All these values are measured by our own happiness. This is called Ananda. So we have Sat existence, Chit knowledge, and Ananda, the primordial value. Taken all together, the whole of reality is therefore called Satchidananda. One can be permeated with the consciousness of Satchit Ananda. It can be blissful if it is not differentiated. But instead of this generic sense of existence, subsistence, and value, we tend to see things individually. When they are broken into bits, we have instead asti. This is bhati, I know it, and priyam, I love it. In Western terms, these correspond to cognition, conation, and affection. In the fragmentary notions of asti, bhati, and priyam, there is scope for a great deal of confusion. We can have this is, I know it, I dislike it. Or even this is, I do not know what it is, therefore I do not know if I like it or not. Only when we cultivate an ever prevailing sense of unity are we out of this confusion. When we identify with the egoistic self, we see only through this fragmentation and do not experience Satchit Ananda. If we can approach life from the point of view of the all-seeing witness, which is not tainted with incipient memories or proliferating interests, then we will see the good of all, the general good, in which what pleases me is also included. This is not attained, as some mistakenly think, by summarily dismissing what pleases me as an individual. Often there arises a tendency for us to become self-critical if what we like is not liked by others. Yet, if we are all human beings, there should be an underlying happiness regarding what we like. I like vegetarian dishes, and some of my friends like non-vegetarian dishes. So, should I give up my vegetarian diet in deference to the others' non-vegetarian tastes for the sake of unity? Of course not. We have to think more generically about what we like. Vegetarian food and non-vegetarian food are both essentially food. I love to have food, and my friends also love to have food. At this level, we are not different. So I can go with my friends to a restaurant, and I'll have what I like, and they can have what they like. We are all partaking of food. Basically, our need is the same and our fulfillment is the same. The differences are only in the particular details. Of course, the differences are also important and can't be overlooked. When I'm hungry and you are hungry, I cannot just say that as both of us are one, I will eat for you also. You have to take care of your side of the business. We have to distinguish how we cater to the general happiness and what implications it has in its particular aspects. A husband and wife may love each other very much. They live a unified life, but that does not mean that they do not have two toothbrushes. Having separate toothbrushes does not take away from their friendship in the least. When we shift our focus from particular objects back to the self, we will stop getting so confused on this issue. 4 elements are involved from this perspective: the self, the ego, objects, and our interest in them. An interest usually comes between the ego and the object. Actually, it is the interest lying buried behind the ego that directs it to the objects. All this happens in the light of the self. Unfortunately, the light is the part we completely forget. It is in this light of the existence of the self that we derive the idea of the existence of the object. It is from the knowledge of the self that we derive the notion of what we know. And it is from the value of the self that we derive the enjoyability of the object. These 3 basic facts we forget when we are concerned only with the objects themselves. Even after we learn this wisdom, when we go out in the world, our life is again governed by preferences. My comes instead of our. He is my friend, my guru. I have a right to protect my friend. No. He is my friend. He is my guru. I see it like this. Then they fight. The combat is in the ego field. From there, if you can get into the spirit field, it is very wide. There is enough room for everything. When Alice wanted to join the tea party, all the animals said, "No room, no room." Alice was indignant. "There is plenty of room. Why do you say there is no room?" There is plenty of room. You don't have to fight and say that because that person is there, you don't have any space now. Your space is not taken away by anyone. The space you occupy is always there for you, and the space occupied by the other is there for them. The Absolute is big enough to include everything and everyone. Jesus said, "Don't bother about the flocks. My sheep can be outside the flock also." Why do you bother about a person being in a different church? If I'm really a good shepherd, I will go where he is. It doesn't matter if he wanders away from the group. In my Father's mansion, there are many chambers. That's a beautiful way of putting it. There is not just one chamber in God's mansion. It has such variety that there are unlimited possibilities. We have to reorganize our lives and make our visions wide. The more interests that are there, the more wonderful it is. You paint and I sing, and another person dances. It will only enrich our lives the more. Why should everyone do the same thing? In contrast to the Soviet communists, Mao Zedong once said, "Instead of one flower, let there be 1,000,000 flowers blossoming. Why should there be only the red flower? Let there be 1,000,000 flowers with 1,000,000 hues flourishing." That's wonderful. Even when 1,000,000 flowers of 1,000,000 hues flourish, It is the flowerness that we glorify. In other words, if we know the essential value that is lived out differently by different people, and if we glorify that, it is one. Let us cultivate that insight by which the oneness is immortalized.